This video, we are going to look into deleting a user story. Okay, so right now we have the ability to delete the tasks, but we want the ability to go ahead and delete the entire user story. Okay, so we're first going to do some of the front end work. Let's go ahead and head over to our Trello board. We're going to drag this into in progress and open it up. All right, so we need to add a button on the feature modal here. Okay, so it needs to be added to the user story details accordion. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at it to make sure this is correct. All right, yep, so we have our story status, we have our chevron down arrow. Okay. So this looks pretty good. So this is whether or not we're updating the story name. All right. Okay, so if update name is true, then we're going to just have that. Okay, but if it's false, then we're going to have the accordion. Okay, just trying to remember where I'm at. So we have text name, and we have our icon button, and then text status. Okay, so let's look at our design. It looks like the little delete icon is after the status. Okay, so we are going to add an icon. We're adding delete icon. All right, and then we will go back down and we will go ahead and do icon button. And we're going to say icon is equal to delete icon. And we're going to say aria label is equal to delete user story. Okay, let's take a look. All right, perfect. Now we have that. But you can see if we click the button, it now goes away. So we're going to want it back. All right, and we want to move it next to the story. Better? Okay. So it looks like margin right 4 is what we want to add to the text and to the icon button. All right, perfect, that looks better. So now we have that, and we are going to actually add this up here too. All right, and so now when I click, okay, good. All right, looking good. So then we want to have margin right equals 4 there too. Okay, so I click. Perfect. Okay, that looks good. That looks good too. Okay, so we went ahead and we added our delete user story button on the feature modal. All right, I am going to not worry right now about this modal, about do you want to delete the user story, because I want to go ahead and get the functionality working for this before I do any more front end work. So I am going to then just go ahead and create my delete story function. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to actually close this, and I'm going to say const delete story is equal to. All right, and then I'm actually going to head over to the task box because I have a delete task here, and I can just copy and paste it. All right. All right, so we want to go ahead and do user story ID is just going to be equal to user story ID. Okay, We want to say delete user story. All right, we're going to use the token. I don't know what we want to do yet in terms of, I think we're probably just going to set the feature or set the project update, but I'm not sure yet. So we're just going to console log there. This actually reminds me that we do know what we want to do here, so we can go ahead and get rid of those console logs and text box. All right, and then on success, we're going to say your user story has been deleted. And then here we're going to say there was an issue deleting your user story. Please try again. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I need to attach that to both of these. All right, and then I will move this down here. All right, nice. Okay, next we are going to go to the API then, and we're going to go to auth controller, and we are going to copy this delete task, and we're going to go to the area where we're talking about our user stories, and we are going to instead say delete user story. Okay, we'll name the function delete user story. We will pass in a user story ID, which we will call user story ID. We're also going to have the request pass in so we can get the user ID, and then we will use the user story ID here. We don't want to call the delete task. We want to call the delete user story function, which does not exist, so it's mad at us. So let's go make it exist. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to change it to delete user story. We are passing in a user story ID, which is a number, and a user ID. Okay, so then here I'm not going to really worry about all of this, so I can delete it. Right now, I just want to await, and I'm going to say user stories.service.delete user story. And then we will pass in the user story ID and the user ID. All right, now delete user story does not exist, so let's go to our user story service and let's make it exist. So async delete user story. We're going to pass in a user story ID, which is a number. And we are going to pass in a user ID, which is also a number. And we are going to const story to delete equals, and then I am going to just take this and I don't know exactly how much of this I want yet, so I'll copy it all, and then let's just go ahead and console.log story to delete. All right, so now let's check and make sure that got mapped. So delete user story got mapped. So if I go ahead and click delete here, okay, you will see that we have our story to delete here, user story A, description, and then it went ahead and got the feature and the project too, which I'm not sure we necessarily want right now, but doing good so far. Okay, so we are going to say if story to delete exists, right? Because if someone's trying to hack and delete someone else's story, then we are going to not want them to. So if it exists, then we'll delete the story. Otherwise, we are going to throw a bad request exception saying you cannot delete that user story. And this also shows me that this was wrong. You cannot edit that user story. Okay. So here we want to remove the story. We are going to have an error, but let's just show what would happen. Okay, so I'm going to say await this dot user story repository dot delete story to delete. Okay, so let's give that a try. Let's delete. There is an error deleting your story. Let's read what. So update or delete a table user story violates foreign key constraint on table task. Okay, so basically what that's saying is that we have tasks 1, 2, and 3 related to the user story. Okay, and so we can't delete the user story because it doesn't know what to do with the tasks. So now if we go and delete the tasks, okay, and then I delete the user story, all right, we don't have an issue. So now let's go refresh. We should bring it up and see there's now no user story. That was easy to delete. But if I try to delete this one, you'll see I'm having an error now because it doesn't want me to delete that. Okay? All right, so we then need to delete the tasks that are associated with the story beforehand. Okay, so what I'm going to look up first is I'm going to look up type ORM delete cascade. Okay, and I am going to try this. So I started looking on this Stack Overflow a few days ago, and I see that on a many-to-one relation, you can have this on delete cascade. Okay, so I'm going to try that first because that's going to be my easiest method to use. Okay, so as you can see, I have this one-to-many. All right, but on the one-to-many, we are not adding the on delete cascade. Okay, we're doing that on the many-to-one. So where we actually need to go is into the tasks, task entity, and then here we need to add it. Okay, so we are saying that here we need to add on delete, and we are going to say cascade. Okay, so now that we changed an entity, we have to go to our migrations and make an edit to our migrations. So we are going to add cascade delete task. Okay, so now we can do npm run migration generate to start that. All right, that was my created successfully. All right, so it looks like it's dropping our column status, which we tried to drop a while ago. Okay, so it looks like it's dropping the foreign key constraint, and then it's adding a foreign key constraint, but it's adding this on delete cascade. Okay, so now let's try npm run migration run. And perfect. All right, so now we can go ahead and take a look and see what happens now. All right, so I'm gonna bring up my PG admin. I'm gonna refresh my tables. And I am going to go look at my user stories. If it will load. Come on, PG admin, you are going very slowly. All right, so we have one user story B, okay? And that's the one that we want to delete now. So I'm gonna press delete. All right, it says my user story has been deleted. Remember, I'm not updating anything on the front end, okay? So now let me go and open it up, and you can see there's no user story and there are no tasks. So let's look at this. All right, no user stories. Let's go and look at the tasks. If it will ever load, which is funny because there should be nothing in the task, so I'm not sure why it's taking so long to load. And there are no tasks, okay? If I can go, I can add a user story. Let's say user story A. This is my description of user story A. All right, let's go ahead and add a task. Task 1. Add a task. Task 2. Okay, so now if I delete, all right, we should now, if I click on feature, not have anything. Perfect. Okay, so the on cascade is working. That is nice. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to figure out what we want to get back to the front end. Okay, so I am going to look at how we are handling the on update, and I'm going to see if that is replicable. Okay, so let's go over here and let's look at update story, and it looks like we are setting project. Okay, so we can try to do setting project here as well. All right, so let's go to our user story service and let's see what we are returning in that case. Okay, so when we are updating, we're updating the service and then we're returning the project ID. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. So return user story to delete dot feature dot project dot ID. Okay, so now that should give me the project ID here. So we're going to say const project ID is equal to await. Okay. Then we are going to return await this dot project service dot get project by ID and pass in project ID. Let's go back here and we're going to console log it, but I'm also going to set project response.data. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some user stories. Test 1. Okay, and let's add some tasks. All right, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my page. So yep, we still have a user story 1. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mark that as in progress. All right, so now I'm going to delete it. And my user story has been deleted. That's exciting. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at my console. And the response is the project, which has 3 features. And feature 1 has 0 user stories. Okay, so now I'm curious as to if I have 2 user stories. There's 1, 2. Okay, if I delete 1, all right, so it only got it, and then I delete a second one. Okay, that looks good. All right, perfect. So what we are going to do in the future then is we are going to, did our toast work? I wasn't even paying attention. Okay, my feature has been created. Okay, so first off, let's go ahead and change this. So the success message should be your user story has been created. Okay. So let's add user story 2. That's better. Okay, so now let's do delete. Your user story has been delete. All right, let's do your user story has been deleted. Okay, and then let's try this one again. Awesome. All right, so we still need to do a few things in the next video. For example, when I click on the delete button, I want to make sure that it doesn't open the modal, which it shouldn't because it's deleting it. But I'm probably just going to want to test that a little bit. And I also want to make sure I show this, are you sure you want to delete the story modal, okay? Which would then delay this. So that is where we will continue in the next video. All right, but for now, we are going to say the delete user story works, this works, and this works. So we just have to create that modal. All right, I'll see you in the next one.